This was a choice. Do we love it? No. Did the internet hate it? Basically, yes. There is so much wrong with this picture and the issuing of this picture at all. But before you say old news, halt. I have a reason why I'm covering it now. I'll tell you in just a second. The biggest thing that stood out to me here is the image choice overall, which followed a similar complaint of last year's, that the focus is largely on Meghan specifically, or last year Harry and Meghan specifically, rather than the children or the family as a whole. It feels weird to see an adult, a parent, unable to share or even give the spotlight up to anyone else, even their own family or children. And for a woman with a reputation of being high in narcissism, you'd think that she would want to avoid hijacking any future Christmas cards. But no, it's the same MO as last year. But that's not the only weirdness here. There's more. Hi everybody, I'm Beebs Kelly. Before we jump into today's video, I'd like to invite you to subscribe, click the like button and the hype button, but only if you want to. So why talk about this picture, this Christmas card, now? Well, in public relations, in branding and public image, which is what people like Meghan Markle and Prince Harry really rely heavily on, and by the way, it's also relevant to all of us in some capacity in how we present ourselves and what we choose to share, our own social media and how we present ourselves into the world and in our relationships and whatnot. But timing does not erase relevancy, especially for a picture like this. The public reaction and the big backlash to their Christmas card leaves a digital footprint that continues to shape how a brand or a person is perceived well after the moment has passed. It reframes things going forward. And this card provides us a useful case study, not because of when it was released, but because it shows how their visual choices, their messaging, and the audience expectations collide, and how even something meant to feel personal can function as strategic communication. Looking at it now actually gives us more clarity, not less, which is why I often circle back to things that aren't brand new, because I love an in-depth analysis. Just as a person, I love an in-depth conversation about things that really dissects an issue and analyzes a topic and explores lots of different angles and opinions and consensus. I like that sort of thing. But also because it's very, very valuable when you're looking at a brand and a person's public image as a whole. And what you can see in future events, the consequences of something play out as we move forward. Also, it's important to preface this with the context being key here. Very, very important. This was a photo that was published and intended for public consumption. This was not a personal photo sent just to close family and friends or something meant to be kept private at home. No, the context here is that this was public consumption on purpose. It was not leaked or stolen or anything like that. They literally published it and issued it out into the world for public consumption. So all of the following notes and feedback to this picture are framed as such. As a personal private photo, wear whatever you want, do whatever you want, get silly or weird or boring or messy, do whatever you want. It's private. It's no one else's business, okay? But if you're publishing something for public view, then we get to analyze it. So, my first impressions, strictly opinion here, are that the see-through dress is a bad choice. It's poor etiquette. Anytime you have your kids in the picture, you should think about such things, For example, you should reduce the amount of cleavage visible or minimize sheerness to the fabrics that you're wearing. You're not trying to look sexy when you're in a picture with other kids or with your children or with family. It's not about that. It's not about drawing attention to your body or your figure or things like that. And honestly, the focus should be the children, in my opinion, in family photos, but you shouldn't have undergarments showing. If you're a guy, don't sag your pants, things like that. Wear a real shirt and stuff. If you're going to publish a picture with your family, don't go for sheer fabrics. I'm not saying that this particular photo, this dress being sheer, is some super sexy picture or something like that, but it does draw attention to the wrong things. Having the kids in the picture and choosing to wear a see-through dress together feels weird. And like I said, if this was a private photo, so what? Maybe you didn't know that it was see-through, but don't choose that one to publish. To me, it just feels icky and strange. And honestly, the sheer dress and the hunchback posture of Meghan here steal the focus and also just look not great in general. But the focus should have certainly been more to the center of the photo or the kids, or just equally balanced across them all, which is what, good composition of a photograph, especially a family portrait, focuses on. It makes it to where the family unit is the focus, not just this sort of strange spread out where one person is the main focus. Meghan achieved main focus and attention stealing in this photograph through several different ways. For example, she was the only one wearing this white, and she could have not worn white, or had she worn a slip, at least the sheerness wouldn't be standing out. And it's standing out more than anything else, not only because it's white, but white with a shadow in it of her lanky legs, which is high contrast. It basically creates a black and white effect inside a color image, which will always catch your eye. And it's really the only true white in the image as well as being the biggest block of color. And she's also slightly isolated from the rest of the family, and that combined with the unfortunate posture created a lot of negative space as well. So she effectively selected a photo to publish that made her the biggest focal point and separated her from the group. And it's not even flattering. Look at that stoop. Wow. Now, setting that aside, I agree with the internet that it looked a bit awkward in general, like across the entire photograph. Maybe it was poorly photoshopped. It did look a little wonky here and there. The Meghan Herald enjoys scrutiny, yes, but less so than the royal family do when it comes to dissecting pictures. Remember how they picked apart previous photographs of the Wales family? These two aren't important enough to get the same level of scrutiny and treatment. But if they had, I'm sure there would be a lot found. Another big criticism of this photograph was, why show the children at all if you're not going to show their faces? And I totally get that, but I also get keeping your kids off the internet altogether. Both have valid reasons. What tips the scales for me, in my opinion, is the titles. They took the titles for their kids, and they used titles for themselves every chance they get, to the excess of hiring someone to announce your title to all those in your vicinity. It's embarrassing and astonishingly self-indulgent and out of touch. It's peak ick. But because they took the titles and rely on them so much, they at that point made their children public figures. In doing so, had they waited and let their children choose in their teens or young adulthood, it would have been the children's choice, and throughout childhood, they would have more ground to stand on for privacy and keeping the kids' faces hidden. They would, because they wouldn't be titled people. They would not be technical public figures at that point. But they didn't. Harry and Meghan chose for their children and forced their kids into public life by giving them taking titles for their children, and now they are technically public figures. So publishing pictures without the visible faces is just petty media games. They should just issue an annual, once a year, around the holidays photograph like normal people with the kids' faces, a normal family portrait. My gosh, it's crazy. Harry and Meghan's poses with the children are also a little bit weird. I don't know about you, but this reads almost like the kids are being scolded to me. The body language isn't purely 100% interpretable as happy, close family moment where everyone is happy and enjoying it. It can be viewed in many other ways, in large part because we cannot see the children's faces. We can't see if they're smiling back. To me, it almost looks like the kids are being scolded. And like, hey, give us a nice picture, all right? And then Meghan and Harry are just softened their faces, but the kids' faces not being visible, we don't know if they're smiling back or happy or not. You know what I'm saying? So overall, this photo does lack the warmth and connection that we see, for example, in other royal family photos, which brings me to my next point. Harry and Meghan don't need to be issuing family Christmas cards anyway, as they're not in any sort of a public role, and even celebrities who post family photos, it's usually just on social media, and they show their kids' faces in them. So this all feels very curated, contrived, and overly crafted. It doesn't feel spontaneous, but it also isn't traditional warm family photograph. So it certainly won't help their brand. And there's even some criticisms that by being so incredibly stubborn in choosing dodgy pictures like these to publish, it's almost giving the impression that they're not proud of their family or children. So they go to great lengths to avoid shots like these and end up with shots like these. I'm not sure I'm fully convinced of that theory. It would be a real shame if so, because quite frankly, a once-a-year family portrait might actually do them good to be just normal for once, their public image, to show that they're not constantly being weird just for like trying to control things. These sorts of pictures can even be taken months in advance, and kids grow so fast that it wouldn't really be any sort of a major privacy risk. And these types of pictures, as we have seen with the royal family, can actually reduce curiosity in the long run, and it comes across quite positively when done right. And we have a perfect example of that here. And their family photo looks absolutely lovely. I love the way they are physically close here and come across as actually, in practice, a close-knit family that are comfortable with one another. Emotionally and physically comfortable to be close like this for a photograph where everybody comes across smiling, relaxed, and happy. In this photograph, things look rigid, forced, strange, awkward, and not close knit, not, snuggly and stuff. You know what I mean? And so, I don't know. I love the way the Wales family's photograph came out and the one that they chose for it. It makes sense, of course, but it also just communicates so much more. It looks like more of a normal family. They look close. Sitting this close, bunched up together, comes across awkward if you're not very close or comfortable with your family unit. So they clearly are. And the Sussexes, I don't know. Leave it in the comments. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you have a very happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!